And let's just turn on end-to-end longitudinal control. Like your regular cruise control would just like go balls deep into 65 miles an hour if it's got room. This is not going to do that. Here's a good example. Again, haven't touched anything. If you know what setting I can do to fix that, please let me know. Oh, but I should have warned you. Oh, this is cool stuff. Good morning, everyone. CPO here. And you guys have been waiting, at least some of you. Okay, maybe one of you. One person's been waiting on me to do a driving video with OpenPilot. I did a video like this with my factory lane keep assist and lane follow assist. I've since then installed a comma.ai and I am running an OpenPilot fork called FrogPilot right now. And so what I wanted to do is do a similar drive that I did before on the factory strategy and show you the difference in how OpenAI handles different things. Now, I am running FrogPilot, which is a very enriched version of OpenPilot. It's got a bunch of things that aren't built into the factory OpenPilot strategy, including you just saw pop-ups for confirming speed limit changes and things like that. That's because right now I'm in experimental mode with basically full control options. Right now I'm not using the longitudinal control option. I'm manually controlling my acceleration and deceleration. But with the press of a button, I can let the car do that as well. So it does make some decisions based on speed limit as far as how fast it should be going. And so it's asking me right now to confirm whether or not I agree that the speed limit has changed. That was an auto lane change. All I did was turn on the blinker and it changed lanes. But anyway, I wanted to show you and talk a little bit about this on this drive this morning as I drive to work. So, couple things really that I want you to pay attention to, and I'm not going to do a full like A/B where I bounce back and forth or put side by side the factory versus the FrogPilot. So if you want to go back and see what that drive was like with the factory, go back in my YouTube channel, like a few videos, not very far. It's been probably within the last couple of months. One thing that was a huge problem, okay, not a problem. One thing that was a huge annoyance is the fact that on the factory strategy, in order for it to detect that the driver is alert and aware, is through steering wheel engagement. So if you let off the steering wheel, like my hands are not on the steering wheel right now, if you do that for a period of time, and it seems to vary, I've experimented with that, and I think I even talked about that in that video, but it's usually no more than a minute or so, sometimes 30 seconds, that if you let go of the steering wheel, it's going to be like, hey, I need you to take the wheel so that I know you're paying attention. That's the only reason it's there. It's not because the car isn't capable. It's a safety implementation that every single production car uses, I believe, maybe with the exception of Tesla. The alternative is a camera-based driver monitoring system, which is what the comma.ai has and what OpenPilot uses, and thus FrogPilot uses. There's a camera right here, and there's a picture, like a wireframe drawing of my face, and it can actually show, like, you're not going to be able to see it in this video, but it's, you know how when sketches, people who draw, like, they'll sketch out a face and they'll do a wireframe, and then they'll show like the curvature of the front of the face and then across, and then you start building features off of that. It's kind of got that sort of look and feel to it. and it can detect, and it shows you in this little graphic where I'm looking. It's kind of crazy, actually. Point being is that it's trying to make its best judgment on whether or not you're actually paying attention or not. So it's using that to detect my awareness, and then will actually alert me if I'm looking away for too long, or holding a phone in some cases and looking down. It will remind me to pay attention, which is a cool safety feature. All right, so the other thing that I want you to pay attention to, which was an actual problem / annoyance, is the fact that lane follow assist, the factory Kia lane follow assist, would lose itself through intersections. And not like Eminem Lose Yourself, but like it would get lost and stop working. It would just stop and be like, I'm no longer active. That is a problem that is solved with the OpenPilot strategy of lane following or advanced driver assistance, in that, I don't know, it's really good. Like the camera is really good at keeping track of the intersection. So this big intersection here, like there's no way I would get through this with the factory system. And I'm not going to make you sit for the entire red light. So there's a couple other things. All right, so one that was important to watch is the fact that I don't have to manhandle the steering wheel in order to continue driving with assistance. Two is that it doesn't get lost in the middle of intersections. Three is going to be the fact that it has lots of other assistance like red light / green light. As you can see here, it's telling me, it knows this is a red light. It's telling me where a stop point is. If I was letting the vehicle control acceleration and deceleration, it would have automatically stopped. The light turned green, it just told me the light turned green. So those are a couple of other features that are really kind of cool that are built into this because it uses a camera intelligence system, and there's machine learning involved in this. And so this isn't hard-coded like from a map that says there's a stop sign at this point. It's literally assessing the scene that is presented before it and then making intelligent decisions based on that. Like up here, it knows that we're going to be stopping. It sees stopped cars in the lane of travel, and it knows we're going to stop. Now, I still do have to touch the steering wheel in a couple of instances, and that's when making turns and on really sort of like sharp curves. And the reason is the allowable torque that the system is permitted to put on the steering wheel is not enough to make these turns. That's a safety function that is built in. I've mentioned this before. I don't know if that's something that can be overcome with just a code change, or if it's something hard-coded in the car that can't be changed. I'm not sure. But just know, like when you roll up to an intersection, I'm going to make a left turn here. I'm going to have to turn the wheel. Like the car right now won't make that turn for me, even if I had it set to like end-to-end driving. Like it just wouldn't make that turn. And so, yeah, that is that. And I am curious to see if that's going to change in the future. If it's a software safety setting, then a simple adjustment could make that go away. Now, the car is capable of making those turns because it has self-parking mode. So I've watched it crank the wheel and do things, right? So it's possible. But with OpenPilot and its various forks, it is limited to a certain amount of torque that can be applied to the steering wheel. So FrogPilot, while we're sitting here, I still have maps, and I have a bunch of different settings here, like so many settings. Yeah, so much. All right, let's go. All right, I'm going to go ahead and enable the, and I don't know if I like this steering or the speed limit confirmation thing. I understand it. I don't know if I want to deal with that. I may just tell it to just trust what it sees. I'm going to go ahead and start the, let me make this shortcut real quick. Let's get through this so I'm not stuck at that intersection. And then what I'll do is I will enable the longitudinal control and let it control starting and stopping, so you can see how that works. Recognizes there's a stop sign here. Yeah, that's way better. All right. So let's just confirm that. And let's just turn on end-to-end longitudinal control. So now what you see is I've got the orange indicators that tells me I'm in experimental mode and it's driving itself. Max speed limit is 65. And what that means is that's what I've put the limit of how fast I want it to control itself. But it's not going 65. Like your regular cruise control would just like go balls deep into 65 miles an hour if it's got room. This is not going to do that. What this is going to do is go the speed limit plus 5 I have it set at. And then it's also going to stay behind traffic. So the cars in front of me are going, 38 to 40 miles an hour. So that's what we're doing. Now it is going a little slower than I want it to right now, but I'm not super upset. I can always nudge it. So what I'm doing now is I'm just pushing on the gas. Let's say I want to go 50. And then I gave it a little bit of a nudge to speed it up. And now it's holding a little bit better at the higher speed. I'm not entirely sure why it does that. And I've noticed that before, like even on these long straights where it will sometimes default to a lower speed than I expect it to. So maybe there's a setting I have in there. I'm really like novice in playing with this stuff, but maybe there's a setting. Okay, here's a good example. Car pulled out in front of me, this truck. My car acknowledged and said, okay, we'll just slow and let this truck do its thing. Now I have another car, that truck left. I have another car and I have a stopped car. It's recognizing that car is stopped. It is going to stop behind it. And we wait, just like that. The other thing you saw and you will see as we're driving, if my blind spot monitors detect a vehicle in my blind spot, you'll see red indicators like blocking out the lane to tell me that that's not a valid option for a lane change. Probably not to tell me, probably more. Okay, the color is to tell me, but the car knows that that's not a valid option for lane change because there's somebody in the blind spot. So if I did a lane change request, it would not do it. So now the light has turned green, lead car is leaving, my car is following. Again, haven't touched anything. You'll notice I haven't touched the steering wheel other than to make turns this entire time because it's really good at keeping up with the lanes. So here's an example. I'm going 35 miles an hour. I don't want to go 35 miles an hour. I want to go faster. So I'm going to bump it up. And but if you're watching this and I don't think it's just FrogPilot because I've noticed this in, I think it's an OpenPilot thing. If you know what setting I can do to fix that, please let me know. Because that's sometimes annoying. I get it in curves that it's going to do lower than the speed limit. But on a flat straight like this, I feel like there's got to be a setting that I have that is making it not want to go the speed limit. Anyway, but like, this is what it is. This is driving with OpenPilot instead of the factory system. It's very much more intelligent. Okay, we have a red light up here, car is stopped. Do I trust? Sure, I trust. Now, my factory system will do that as well. It will slow down behind a car. The radar-based systems, though, are a little bit weird. I'm gonna speed up again because it doesn't want to go as fast as I want to go. The radar-based systems get confused when the vehicle is stopped. When a vehicle's not moving, it gets really confused. And the other thing that it gets confused on is if the lead car in front of you turns out of the lane and there's another car, like it for some reason it's like, oh, that car's gone, and it starts to speed up again, and it doesn't recognize the other car for a little while. So I'm going to do a lane change here. I press the brake. That's a habit. So I turned it off out of sheer habit. So I'm going to turn it back on again. So I don't think I would have had to have pressed the brake for this car to have stopped behind that car. But that's just habit. Like, it is what it is. I'm still in complete control of the car, by the way. That's an important thing, right? This isn't set it and then like read the newspaper or, you know, work on your phone. This is helping you take some of the minutia out of driving. And historically, lane follow assist and lane keep assist functions, advanced driver assistance systems in cars have been really useful for like highway commuting, road trips, long things. They've been largely ineffective and almost counterproductive in a traffic environment like this, in a daily commuting environment. And I find that to not be true with OpenPilot. I find that it's actually super helpful in a commuting environment at just taking the edge off. Now I'm going to need to make this turn. Oh, but I should have warned you. FrogPilot has some interesting sounds associated with it. And one of them is if it needs to make a turn beyond what the torque value is capable of doing with the limitation that we already talked about, it gives me this screeching goat sound. I turned it off once, and then I've reinstalled the software, and I've not yet to turn it off again. It's really annoying. Kind of funny the first time, but after that, it gets really annoying. I forget where I was. Anyway, I find commuting like there's a bunch of little things that you're constantly doing on a drive, and this just removes 90% of them and leaves me just going. Like, I don't know. It is cool. So here's a stoplight. Let's see if it recognizes it. There's no car in front of me. No car in front of me. It recognizes a stoplight. Stops itself at the stoplight. Then let's see if when the light turns green, it goes by itself. Now this is cool stuff, y'all. This is stuff that you don't get with the factory advanced driver assistance systems. This is innovation. Light turns green, car goes. Now it's up to me to make sure it's safe to go, right? Like, I don't know if somebody was about to run that red light, if my car would have gone, oh, hey, look left, look right. Like, it can't do that. It has forward-facing cameras. It right now, in 2024, can't look left and right to make sure that there's no pedestrians or other vehicles. It's making a trusted assumption that you're doing that, which you should be doing that. So anyway, this video is run long enough. You've basically gone on my commute to work. But I've been wanting to do this for a while. I know some of you have been waiting for it. So here it is. This is FrogPilot. I also use SunnyPilot. I'm playing around with that. There's some distinctive differences from one another, but also differences from the actual OpenPilot source that they are forked from. But, you know, you've got to just play with what you like and figure out you know, which one works best for you. So anyway, right now I'm playing with FrogPilot. It's kind of cool. I'm going to make a lane change one last time, just for you guys. In the middle of traffic. no problem. Didn't have to put my foot on the brake, gas, or steering wheel. All I did was turn on the blinker, and Bob's your uncle. Anyway, guys, that's it. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you on the next one.